Well, it looks like developers kept their word, and we've got a pretty significant balance patch here for Deadlock on July 29th. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and I have not taken a look at these notes yet, so we are going to go through them right here on the channel. First reaction, I'm not going to read all of it word for word, but I want to go through these notes pretty in depth, so let's take a look at it. First of all, just general changes. Mid-boss HP is now fixed at spawn time, base HP increased, so it basically doubled, and the growth rate of it is reduced. REJUV has been reworked. This is a big paragraph, so you know a lot of changes coming here. Reworked REJUV award from mid-boss. No longer buffs troopers, huge. Reduces respawn time and buffs various stats. Upon death, 3 REJUV crystals fall to the ground, 4 for subsequent mid-boss kills. Claiming one now grants you in-place revive after 3 seconds. If you already claimed one and claim another, it'll go to an ally. Priority is closest allies first, then most recent dead allies. Dying with REJUV no longer counts as a kill death nor gives out bounties. While you have the REJUV buff, you gain the following: 20% max HP, 20% fire rate, 15% spirit damage. This is crazy. Holy cow. Gaining the buff heals you to full and lasts up to 7 minutes. Okay. This is wild. This might be the biggest thing in the patch. I haven't read the rest of it, but this is huge. This is a totally new mid-boss, right? So let me go through that again, okay? Because this is a big deal. I think we will spend some time on this one. So yeah, no longer the insane troopers, which I actually like from a quality of life perspective. Upon death, 3, yeah. So you get 3 cheat deaths for your team for one, instance, obviously. And then you can claim multiple. Yep, no longer is a kill. You gain a bunch of buffs. This is interesting, and I think why this is good, rather, is I think that this is significant in one of the biggest things in Deadlock to keep the game fun, to keep it interesting, is to keep you in the game longer. So it's less about like dying and respawning and going back to base. This has been, I think it was Death Year Metro, one of the two made a video where they were talking about like kind of what it is to like have fun in Deadlock and how like an item like Fortitude being good keeps you out on the map longer, and so that's a good thing. This is kind of like that in a way, right? Because even when you die in place, so it's all about keeping you in the action and the focus on the players as far as the buffs go. I don't know though. I think the biggest question mark I have outside of just how is this all going to play out, because it's going to be different, is does it because of the double HP with all this for mid-boss, is it going to be much harder to get mid-boss early? I think that is a huge question. I think the answer is probably yes. I think that mid-boss is going to be even more coveted than it was. I mean, it's kind of like getting mid-boss was winning the game in a lot of instances, at least in the current patch. So this will be fascinating, though. I cannot believe how significant of a change this is actually. But wow, what a change it is indeed. I'll try and have more thoughts on this later, and I definitely want to get into some games to test this out, but nice set of changes right here to start. Alright, meleeing a mantling enemy no longer cancels their mantle, so it applies movement slow. That's a good quality of life. Applying a debuff makes you climb ropes 40% slower, 4 seconds since you've taken player damage. The debuff only lasts when you're on a rope. Okay, that's fine. Interesting, but fine. Slight reduction to the amount of turning you can do while performing a heavy melee. Okay, some melee changes here, yeah. Light melee base damage reduced by 20%, except for a few characters. Viscous Calco Bebop, okay. Heavy melee cooldown increased. Heavy melee cooldown when missing increased. Interesting. So now you're punished a little bit for missing heavy melee. You can't just kind of melee around. That's interesting. Parried stun duration is no longer reduced by debuff resistance. Okay, makes sense. Parry bonus damage is no longer melee specific, now affects all damage types. Yeah, okay, interesting. So all this is made to make countering melees better and to make it a bit more of like a skillful act to land subsequent melees. I'm fine with that. Punch builds shouldn't be as easy as they are. It shouldn't be like the de facto simpleton way of playing Deadlock, I don't think. Not that it is, but it's getting there. So, interesting. Alright. Heroes now have different dash speeds. Same distance, slower to get there. They are placed into 3 buckets to start. Bucket 1 is plus 5%, bucket 2 minus 5%, bucket 3 minus 15%. Okay, so this is basically saying how nimble is the character. You know, how quickly do they perform their dash? Okay, which is good. I mean, this gives some more nuance to, like, are they an initiator character? Are they someone who's going to be punished by being overextended a little bit more? So we've got the usual. I'm not going to read off all the suspects. You can see them on screen. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Ivy Hayes, Calico. Talon's kind of surprising there. The bucket, the second bucket will be most of them. And then, yeah, you have the big characters, Mo, Krill, Abrams. This will help punish Shiv. Dynamo. Bebop. He's a clanky robot. Kelvin's kind of interesting here, actually. And then McGinnis is going to make her even more punished to be up front. Interesting. All right, remove for the teleporters behind the walkers. After 20 minutes... Well, that's I mean, that's just a crazy change to throw in there. Wow, okay. Yep, so remove teleporters behind the walkers. After 20 minutes, trooper spawn time is reduced from 30 seconds to 25 seconds, so more farm on the map. Helps to get things like mid-boss quicker, speed up the game. Trooper bounty growth is reduced. Makes sense with the more frequency of the troopers. Remove the bounce pads on top of the nursery fish market rooftop heading back to mid. Okay. Interesting. The teleporters behind walkers is the biggest thing there. I mean, that is... It's good because it's way too easy to just kind of go back and forth between the two and do that, but interesting still. All right, a few more general changes, then we get into some item changes here. All right, let's look at this. Trooper ally split changed. Trooper ally split. Oh, like the soul split between allies. Duh. Okay. So gets less and less from the looks of it. Interesting. Okay. Breakable souls growth per minute reduced 2.6 to 2 minutes. Okay. Comeback multipliers were tuned down a little bit. Neutrals bounty increased by 15%. Strong neutrals 25%. Interesting. Okay. Medium neutrals respawn rate increased. Strong neutrals. So this is good. This is interesting. I don't know how I feel about this yet, but yeah, so you're going to have camps spawn a little bit less often, but worth a little bit more. So it kind of makes doing each camp more meaningful, which I think is good. Yeah, they want people in lane more. They want people getting in and getting out of jungle, getting what they need out of it. Get the heavier value items out of that fast and kind of put a premium on it. And then because of the troopers, you got to be in lane to get those. They're going to be respawning more. So kind of, yeah, it's going to force us to manage lane a lot more as a priority, I think. Sinner Sacrifice, retaliate damage increased. Heavy melee end success bonus now grants 4 buffs rather than 3. So it'll take a little longer to kill now due to the melee timing changes. Let me look at this again, sorry. Heavy melee end success bonus now grants 4 buffs rather than 3. These are also a little longer to kill now due to the melee timing changes. Okay, that makes sense, yeah. But you get 4 buffs. I mean, that makes Sinner Sacrifice, yeah. The jungle items are these really high quality, kind of premium things. Kind of interesting. Interesting. Then a collection of other changes here. So hero bounties now reduced based on the amount of players, similar to the trooper mechanic. Means kills are less efficient rewarding when it's a big group. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Interesting. I don't have a lot of thoughts on that one, to be honest. Move speed slow when shooting reduced. Okay. A little bit more nimble while shooting. Sidewalkers HP increased by 10%. Objectives no longer have spear resistance. Wow, it's impressive. So now you can effectively split push with Spirit. That's honestly a big change, a big thing to note. That's really just hidden in here. Falling abilities now do 50% damage to objectives. Last Stand, Storm Cloud, Hyper Beam, Heavy Barrage. Wow. Oh, they do 50. I thought it was like an increase of 50%. I was like, whoa. Okay. So basically they're taking all of the things that were being used as Spirit abilities, take down objectives, and making them terrible at doing that. So you can't just 7 ult over a walker. That's probably good. I did love doing it, though. It's a great move, as 7. Alright. Troopers are a little faster. Respawn curve reductions. Not going to get into those. Zipline, knockdown. Yep. A little bit less damaging if you do. And, okay. Pending heal UI. Okay. Wow. General changes, just quick thoughts on all these. I like it. It's like more nuance is what all of it is doing. I think it's more nuance in how you lane versus jungle. It's nuance in the dash timers. It's nuance in objective capturing with, you know, weapon. Used to be all weapon. Now it could be both. And like it's just giving, it feels like more different ways to approach things that could all be viable, which I like in patches usually. Let's look at items. Oh boy. Okay, a few items here. Looks like they're getting, actually, it looks like they're targeting a lot of items. So, let's go through these quickly. Restorative Shot. Nerfed. Heal for NPC reduced. Weapon damage reduced. Fleet Foot. The bullet resistance reduced. Melee charge. Same thing. Spirit Shredder bullets. Spirit resist reduction increased. So a 1% buff to Spirit Shredder bullets. I always pay attention to those little tiny buffs. It's usually devs just trying to say like, hey, look at this thing. Look at this thing. It's always been good, we think, but here, maybe that's a little bit better. Or maybe they are just marginally fixing it. I don't know. Slowing bullets after buildup is achieved. Debuff duration is refreshed rather than starting buildup again. Okay. Swift Striker fire rate increased. Wow. Made Swift Striker better. Interesting. Express Shot buffed. Toxic bullets nerfed, but now scales with spirit power is interesting at a very small percentage. Wow. Berserker heavily reduced by 50, by 50%. Blood Tribute, wow, buffed significantly. Move speed better, now gives regen, and it's not as painful to use. Interesting. Weighted shots, nerfed. Makes sense. Hunter's Aura buffed. I like that one a lot. One Spirit is really funny. That's just like Spirit Shredder bullets. Just like a funny, like, look at this thing. It's really funny. Spirit Rend, same thing. 1%. Or, wait, am I reading that wrong? Spirit Resist reduction increased. Yeah, okay, yeah. Crushing Fists, bullet resistance reduced. Crushing Fists, heavy melee distance reduced from 70 to 60%. That's pretty big. But overall, the 20 to 12% is a good change there. It shouldn't be 20% bullet resist, I don't think. Armor-piercing rounds, chance reduced from 60% to 50%. It's fine. Shadow Weave is going to get increased. Yeah, it's going to get buffed. Duration's longer. Or wait, duration reduced. I thought this item would have been buffed. Cooldown reduced. Okay, that's why. And now grants 25% melee damage on ambush reveal. Interesting. Okay, so they're trying to incentivize that to be the way you use it. Quicker, use it more often, punch out of it. Makes sense. Okay. Capacitor damage increase, minor. Spell Slinger buff duration increased from 10 seconds to 14 seconds. I just played a game as Spell Slinger on the channel. Spoiler alert from my video I just released. One of the wheel spins was Spell Slinger. And I felt like it was too short of a buff. So that's almost exactly what I would have done. That makes sense. Gun changes are interesting. I like what they've done here. I don't think gun items needed that much tuning considering all the changes that just happened, but I like that Resto Shot's getting nerfed. I like that Blood Tribute's getting buffed, and I like that Shadow Weave is getting kind of tuned. The rest is somewhat negligible for me. I like the Crushing Fist changes too. This is clearly a melee destroyer patch in a lot of ways, so I don't think Abrams will be coming out of this patch in great shape, which is fine. Vitality items. Guardian Ward, buffed. Now, I called this out in my last video. I feel like Vitality 1600 items were crazy, and I think a lot of them are going to get nerfed here. So, weapon shielding hit very hard and changes how it scales. Spirit shielding, same thing with Spirit. Return Fire was, resistance reduced from 10% to 6%. Bullet damage reduction reduced from 60% to 50%. Okay. Interesting. I think Return Fire is still okay, but that is a hit. Let's move on now. Veilwalker, cooldown reduction reduced. That's good. Metal Skin, same thing. Metal Skin is... I hate when that item's good. So that's just like a... Oh, no. Debuff Remover. Bonus health reduced. Cooldown increased. So a little bit worse. It's fine. Trophy Collector buffs, everyone. Let's start using that item again. That's pretty inconsequential, but that's decent increase in number, at least. Spirit Resilience, nerfed a little bit. It's funny just that one was. Divine Barrier, cooldown reduced, and Sheet Death effect no longer gets pierced by kill effects like Killing Blow or Guided Owl. Well, yeah, okay, that's good. Makes sense. Vitality items, no surprise that you get weapon shielding and spirit shielding hit the hardest and return fire. I think those items all were in a position where that needed to happen, so that's fair. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy with weapons so far. I think this is all pretty standard stuff. Rusted Barrel, they're trying to make it better. 5-second cooldown reduction and bullet resist by 5%. Sure. It's fine still, I think. Suppressor fire rate reduction reduced from 35% to 30%. That's fine. Cold Front nerf. That's good. Slowing Hex. Duration increased from 3 seconds to 3.5. Is that enough to make it good? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. It'll at least be used more. Bullet Resist Shredder. Same thing as Spirit Resist Shredder. Spirit Sap. Reduction. Spirit Power reduction increased from 15 to 18. Cast range increased, bonus health increased. So maybe Spirit Sap is good now. That's a pretty aggressive buff, actually. All things considered, I think. All Disarming Hex got was a cooldown reduction? I don't know about that one. I feel like that item is terrible. So, I'm surprised. I think people wanted like a Spirit, like Silence Wave, but with Disarming Hex, like a similar thing to that, and we're just not getting that. So, I think it's fine, but step in the right direction at least. Surge of Power gets a lot. Cooldown increased, duration increased, fire rate increased, spirit power increased. So they're just changing the way this item works. It's not as much about constant procs anymore, but when it does proc, very strong. Yeah. And it's longer, so interesting. Just will feel different to use. Tank Buster now ignores enemy spirit resistance. And damage reduced from 6% to 5%. Wow. It's a way to get around spirit resistance, I guess. Interesting. Decay damage increased from 2.4% to 2.6%. Fine. That seems very negligible. Scourge. Projectile speed increased from 800 to 600. What projectiles are coming out of Scourge? I guess just like what hits people? Huh. Interesting. I didn't know that Scourge had I just don't think of it as a projectile thing. Focus Sun's cooldown, a little bit above a buff there, and Vortex Web, projectile speed increased. Oh, so like the actual it going out. Okay, this is why. It's the actual thing going out. This makes sense. Like, so when you go to throw Vortex Web, it'll throw faster. Scourge, I just usually self-cast as like a Krill or Viscous, so like, I'm not used to throwing it out. That makes sense. Okay. Spirit items, I am a little disappointed not to see a little bit more on Disarming Hex. Trying to remember, I had like targeted some items in my build that in a previous video that I kind of wanted to get adjusted. And I don't remember. I think I was talking about superior cooldown in that video, but either way, yeah, I think some of this is good. I like the Spirit Sap changes quite a bit. Surge of Power will be interesting to at least go back and try now, honestly. So overall, item changes, nothing too significant, honestly. These are ones that I think all make sense. There's nothing too severe. You know, certainly in combination with everything else, the Crushing Fist changes are pretty big. Blood Tribute feels like it'll be much more popular now. Restorative Shot's not going to get bought as much. The 1600 Vitality items are once again shaken up. I think we're going to still see more Enchanter's Emblem and Battle Vest, because those are still high-value items, so I think we're just going to see people buying those again. It's hard to say, though. But now we get into the last part of the buff, and that is hero changes. So let's dive right into this. Appreciate you all for sticking with it. If you're still here, appreciate you. There's a lot to get through. I don't want to feel like I'm skipping over anything, but at the same time, I feel like you can talk about all these changes at length. So I'm trying not to do that. A little bit of an abridged version. I'll have more thoughts later. Okay, heroes. Bebop. A lot of changes to Bebop. Wow. Base bullet resistance at a large degree. Exploding uppercut reduced from 55 weapon damage to plus 40%. Okay. Grappling arm reduced. And duration reduced. So, wait. Exploding uppercut tier 2 duration. What does it mean, duration? Reduced from 12 seconds to 9 seconds. Does that just mean that he punches faster and grapples quicker? No, that's no. I mean, it doesn't take 10 seconds to grapple, though. Like, what am I talking about, right? I need to, like, look at what this means more. I don't know what, like, the tier 1 reduction duration means. You know, like, I don't know what exactly that means. And it could just be a long day and I'm, like, reading something that makes sense and I just don't understand it. Very possible. But, yeah. Sorry, this is the product of a 5:30 Central Time patch, so I apologize. Dynamo. Kinetic pulse damage, height increased. Okay, interesting. Huh. So it goes a little higher now. That's actually... Wait, really? Kinetic pulse damage... height increase from 0.5 to 0.6. That feels like a significant change in how it's going to look. Interesting. Okay, Great Talent. Spirit Snare, Curse, duration increased a little bit. That's good. Guided Owl cooldown reduced. So they're trying to make Talon a little bit better. A little bit of a buff for Talon. I'm telling y'all, I still don't know what happened with Bebop. I don't know what's going on. No longer has, by the way. 10% base bullet resist. So, anyway. Has that boon thing instead. So he'll scale. Okay. Kelvin, Arctic Beam no longer bounces off of objectives, so can no longer be used as a farm tool. Bummer. That's a huge thing, actually. That's going to change Kelvin's viability quite a bit. They really want him to be in that support role. I really think. Okay. Lady Geist, Essence Bomb no longer 60 units. Cooldown increased significantly. Radius increased. Changed from instead of... Okay, so it's going to give you the tier 1 radius inherently. And basically, if you want to have the cooldown, you have to pay for it. So just a little bit of a swap there. And projectile speed increase. Honestly, pretty negligible. Not much for Geist. Just a swapping of how it works. McGinnis. Health per boon reduced. Now, a lot of spectral wall changes here. Fixed a bug. We'll change the preview particle. Now supports lag compensation. Will now erupt where the preview particle is displaying when manually trigger the eruption. Okay, so just like fixes, it's cleaned up. Turret's health per boon reduced. So basically McGinnis is left alone outside of some fixes. Mirage-based bullet damage reduced by 10%. Paradox bullet damage scaling increased, so flat, basically 10% buff for Mirage, buff for Pocket or Paradox. Pocket Affliction initial current HP percent damage increased from 10% to 12%. Pretty small change, but sure. Now let's get to the two that I really honestly wanted to get to here. Okay, let's look. Shiv. Rage now only builds up from damaging players. That is a hell of a nerf, right? I mean, that I don't play Shiv a lot, but that feels really bad for Shiv. Okay. Rage buildup for all damage types increased by 20%. So it's easier to build up, sure. Rage decay duration increased. Bloodletting duration reduced. Cooldown reduced. Damage clear increased from 30% to 40%. Tier 1 and Tier 2 swapped. And Tier 3 increased. I mean, okay, this is an attempt at a serious Shiv nerf, but is it one? I mean, is it significant? I would have thought the ult would have been targeted. Like you can't chain kill on the ult now. But this feels pretty surprising, honestly. Huh, okay. Let's see, 7. Base movement speed decreased. Move speed, spirit scaling reduced. Tier 1, Tier 2 swapped on Power Surge. Storm Cloud. 10% longer. Less spirit scaling. Less DPS. Less Tier 3 damage. Okay. Again, I guess with it not doing as much damage to objectives, it should feel worse. Significantly 50% less to objectives is pretty bad. But, Yoshi confirmed that we were getting the 7 and the Shiv nerfs. Wow, I cannot talk. but I would have thought they would have been more dramatic than that. I don't know that that's actually that severe for either. I mean, the Shiv thing, the rage buildup really is like that's a core change. So it could just destroy him. I don't play enough Shiv to really know how devastating that really is. I think it's pretty bad, though. 7, though, I feel like is not all that hurt by that. I don't know, though. Interesting. Let's look at the last few here, and then I'll get my final thoughts. Crow, Tier 1, bounce no longer bounce off objectives. It's fine. Tier 3 stake, reduced from 2 meters to 1 meter. That's I think, also fine. It's probably good to nerf the stake build. It's pretty annoying. Puddle Punch, increased, made better. I don't know if that's enough Viscous changes, though. He feels pretty bad. Maybe the other nerfs will help him, but Viscous, I don't know. I thought you could have used more help than that. Maybe. But Warden, bullet damage reduced pretty heavily. Bullet damage growth increased. DPS reduced. And the last stand lifesteal versus non-heroes reduced. I think Warden is going to stay fine from that, but it's not a massive change, I wouldn't say. Wraith, bullet damage increased. Bullet damage growth reduced. Okay, so kind of the inverse of the Warden change. And then the Yamato alt fire, base damage reduced, and now grows per boon, which is fine. I think she was just a little too strong with poke in lane with that kind of like her right click, I don't know what you call them, basically the little bombs that come out. So a good change there. All in all, though, wow. I am impressed. I didn't think that there would be this much here. I certainly didn't think mid-boss was going to get redone to this degree. That's to me, the most exciting part of this change is nothing about the balance. It's nothing about the items or the heroes. It's all about trying this out. I'm very, very excited to try this out in my next game and talk about it a little bit more here. I'll definitely have some thoughts on that as soon as I can, probably tomorrow or something. But yeah, all in all, I think this is good. I think you get a Shiv rework that is an attempt at reapproaching this character, which I think is good. And if Shiv is bad for a little bit, I think that's fine. I think it's better than what it has been. It could just be... Yeah, I don't know. Bebop, I need to figure out what in the world I'm actually looking at with some of this. I don't know. For some reason, the way this reads to me, I just cannot, my brain cannot comprehend it. So if you know what that means, please let me know in the comments. And on that note, if you have any other thoughts about these changes, please do let me know in the comments. This was my actual first time reading them, so I feel like I'm overwhelmed. I really am by all the changes. This is just, there's been so much going on in Deadlock in terms of, like, talking about potential things. It's weird to actually see some concrete changes. I'm not used to it. We haven't gotten anything since July 4th in terms of changes like this, so it is really exciting. But all in all, I'm definitely a fan of this. There's really nothing on here that I'm, like, majorly against. All the things that I was expecting to get nerfed honestly did. There's some interesting changes, like the Surge of Power change is pretty interesting. I like this Paradox Mirage kind of swap. I think that's kind of a cool way to look at that. Hero changes were somewhat negligible, though, I feel like, honestly. A lot of it was just cleaning up certain things, changing the way certain things scale, right? I don't think we'll know for a while how that's actually going to affect the balancing of those heroes. Item stuff is pretty straightforward, like we can see what items are better or worse, and we can see at an overall game state level that what I think this patch is pushing us towards is more meaningful fights in lanes. Jungle is a place that you go with a dedicated jungler, and you kind of get in, get out. It's heavy on buffs, they mean more, but they happen less often, which makes sense. Like in League of Legends and kind of typical top-down MOBAs, you're not spending the whole game in the jungle even if you are the jungler, right? Now, there's not a jungler in Deadlock, right? So this is not the same thing. It's not like a comparison necessarily. But I think the way you approach the jungle is now going to be a little bit more like that top-down, where it is kind of go in, get your value, get to a lane, and fight. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. And it's also going to punish characters for frontlining that, you know, aren't quite as nimble as others. And I think that is going to be a cool way to add nuance to how these characters feel to pilot. Because if you are used to playing Ivy and you go to play McGinnis, you're not going to be able to, even though you have a gun that can deal the damage on both characters, you're not going to be able to just cruise around the same way as you do with Ivy, as you do with Guinness, which is cool. Again, more nuance to me is more fun in this game. But yeah, the mid-boss changes are crazy. But I don't want to yap for anymore. I could sit here and yap all day about this patch. Truly, I could. There's a lot here, and more thoughts will be coming on the channel. But thank you all so much for tuning in, as always. I try to get these videos out as soon as I can, and so thank you for bearing with me on this today. Also, I didn't shout it out until now, but Ansonex, shout out to you. You gave me a little shout in your last video. It's really kind of cool and almost surreal for me. I've watched your videos for a long time, so it's really neat to get a shout out on the channel, so I appreciate you. Love the content, keep it up. If you like, he said the same thing about us over here. If you like our channel, you're probably going to like his as well. We do a similar thing and have a similar kind of approach to the game. Very excited about it and eager to see more. So that is going to officially do it, though. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Patch day is always an exciting one. I'm going to go get some games in, but from our house to yours, we'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.